तो अभी 11:35 हो रहे हैं और अभी मुझे किताबें पढ़ना ज़्यादा अच्छा लगता है, तो मैं शुरू करता हूँ। Inner growth for high achievers. The theme of today's interaction is inner growth. Usually, when we talk of growth, we talk of external growth. For example, for an individual, growth usually means job promotion, better income, or more comforts, etc. For an individual, for a company, growth may mean growing in profits. For an institution, it may mean better rankings, greater enrollments, etc. And for an economy, it may mean higher GDP, employment, and so on. So, given this context for external growth, how do we define inner growth for a human being, and what is its relationship to external growth? Acharya Prashant. You talked of external growth. What does that usually consist of? We earn, we accumulate, we learn, we gain knowledge, and we gain experience. And most of it we call as external growth, which is all very fine. It is just that along with it, we need to keep asking for whom the accumulation, for what sake are we gaining experience, for knowledge or money or power. And when you ask that question, then the whole situation shifts to a different plane because obviously we do not earn money to gain power for sake of money or power. We do not gain knowledge for experience for sake of knowledge or for the sake of experience. We do it all for ourselves. We do it for our welfare. So that question, for whom, is extremely important. When you ask that question, you discover that even when you are striving for external growth, you, the person, the striver, the seeker, is actually at the center of all your efforts. And like in any process that consumes effort, time, energy, and must produce a certain output, here in this process, also the process of external growth, we need to keep measuring whether that external growth process has delivered the final output, and the final output is the welfare of the self. I go for money, I go for power, I want to learn something, I do it for myself. So, even as I go about accumulating all that I do in the world, I need to constantly ask myself to what extent has it really benefited me. So, I, the subject, is at the center of all that I do with respect to the various objects in the world. So so that is inner growth. Being able to clearly see to what extent have all my worldly external endeavors facilitated my internal well-being. Now, what is this thing, internal well-being? You see, are born with certain tendencies, and those tendencies do not let us stay at peace. If you look at a newborn baby, it already has fear, It already has greed in a rudimentary, in an nascent form. Primordial jealousy, ignorance, these things are already present in us, even as we are born. And these tendencies, these physical tendencies, become all the more harmful and exacerbated under the influence of social conditioning. Because as we go through life, we gather experiences, we gather knowledge, we gather a sense of right and wrong, and mostly that does not come from places that can help or further our inner growth. So, internally, we all need a lot of work because internally, we all have a pre existent mess even as we begin the journey of life. That mess needs to be cleaned up, that inner chaos needs to be sorted out, and that is inner growth. So, inner growth is essentially a process in which you reduce or drop or rectify or cleanse a lot of stuff that you were born with, a lot of stuff that you later on unfortunately picked up along the process of life, stuff that was not worthy of being picked up, yet it did get into your inner system. So the inner growth then is a misnomer. It is not a process of growth actually. Nothing grows, nothing becomes bigger in inner growth. In inner growth, there has to be a reduction, a simplification. In inner growth, you drop a lot of things. You become smaller internally, like a tumor you are carrying within. When do you say you have grown in health with respect to that tumor? When the size of the tumor reduces. So, that is inner growth. The size of the inner tumor has to reduce. All external efforts have to be made keeping this inner metric in mind. Stuff that I am doing externally in business, in profession, in relationships, with respect to books, knowledge, whatsoever I am doing from morning till evening, every day, to what extent is it contributing to reducing me from within? That is how you should look at the utility, the efficiency of whatever you have been putting your time and energy into. I gave it so much time, I gave it energy, I worked on it. Did it really help me in an internal way? Because I do not do it for doing's sake. I did it because I had a strong internal reason, and that is the only reason really that one can have because we all exist within ourselves. So all that we do is fundamentally or our sake, for our sake. I know I am being repetitive here, but it needs to be emphasized. All that we do is for our sake. I do not exist outside of myself. So I need to have one eye always on myself. I need to be self observant. I need to keep asking, what is all this doing to me? That is inner growth. When we talk of inner growth or inner wellness, it is not something that is unheard of. It is something that is in the common parlance. So we go to the new spiritual teachers, they talk of inner growth and inner wellness. But their inner wellness is usually equated with stress relief or relaxation and techniques thereof. So, if one thinks about it, inner growth in that sense is considered important only to the extent that it supplements our outer growth. Outer growth still remains the primary objective. Do stress relief and relaxation and technique have any relevance with what inner growth means in the real sense? AP. Good question. You see, this internal mess that I talked of and quite dramatically referred to as an internal tumor just for the sake of effect is not an easy thing to get rid of. We are born with it. It is a part of our body. It resides in each of our cells. These tendencies that I am talking of, ignorance, attachment, fear, greed, jealousy, and so many other things, they live within us. We are carrying them through the process of evolution. In fact, we share those tendencies with every living organisms in the world. So, they are quite animalistic, these things that we carry. They are animalistic and deeply entrenched, and that you would understand is also the reason why so few people even attempt to get rid of these things. When you do attempt to get rid of them, when you do undertake the mighty battle, the giant project of challenging your inner self to become better, to reduce in size, to drop all its baggage or most of it, then it is not easy. The self refuses to grow up. It wants to remain the way it was. And it says that if any growth is to happen, it must happen in the external domain. Internally, I will remain how I have always been. Internally, I will remain afraid, I will remain insecure, I will remain covetous. But externally, I will gather this, reach there, climb to the position, and so on. That is the position, that is the statement of the self and inner self, you could call it. The ego or whatever. So, when you do want to grow internally, it involves pain. It actually involves taking on stress for a long time, deliberately, with resolution. So, the person who really wants to have inner growth will not be afraid of stress. In fact, he will be prepared to go through stress. He will be prepared to invite stress, stress of the right kind. Mind you, it is the stress of the right kind that has been truly classified, called as tapasya or sadhana. The very word tapasya at its root is tap, and one of its meaning is going through heat. You pass through fire knowingly so that all that is unworthy within you gets incinerated, burnt out. Obviously, our system, your system, would not like that. Your system, your entrenched tendencies will oppose that. So, then there is inner conflict. You will have to bear that conflict. I am not in favor of stress, obviously. But usually, what happens is that in the name of avoiding stress, we tend to avoid the right action as well. Such is man's predicament that right action would involve a lot of stress. Wrong action that is harmful to your real well-being does involve stress, but contrary to popular belief, a right action may involve a higher degree of stress than wrong action does. So you have to be ready to take that challenge on. The easier path is usually not the better one. Also, if one is doing in life stuff that is needless, then it would bring its own share of stress and tension along with. with it. Now, what happens is that there is a temptation to seek a cheap remedy to this situation, and the cheap remedy is to take an analgesic, some kind of a painkiller. For example, I might be in a job that puts me in a lot of stress, and that stress is quite unwarranted. It is not the stress of the kind that facilitates any higher inner purpose. It is just that I am at wrong place, in the wrong environment, wrong company, wrong people, and so I am obviously stressed out. Now, what do? I turn towards one of the popular meditative techniques floating in the market, and to some extent, those techniques work in a very superficial way, in a very short term way. So, I return from the bad job that I am doing in the night and I sit down for meditation, or in the morning before I leave for the office. I sit down to meditate for half an hour, and that relaxes my system to some extent temporarily and enables me to continue in that same job, same profession, same environment, which is in fact bad for me. Now, this kind of stress relief, this kind of meditation is actually becoming an enabler for the wrong thing. So, there is a difference between stress and stress. Whatever one does in life, it does involve some stress. One must know the right stress to choose, just as one must know the right thing to choose in any condition, in any sphere of life. So, stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Also, stress to a great extent is inevitable. Spirituality is not, initially at least, about avoiding stress. A state of peace starts descending on the spiritual person after a while, sometimes after a long while. But till then, one must pass through fire. Also, please remember that peace is not the appearance of peace. The spiritual person will take on mighty projects, and that will necessarily involve conflict. We are not talking of fairy tales here. We are talking of the real world. And the real world, when you want to do something important, something really meaningful, there is conflict. Peace, therefore, cannot mean an appearance of peace. Peace, therefore, cannot be about that typical peaceful face that we see on idols and in paintings and the pictures and popular narrative and depictions. Peace is something that inwardly allows you to continue doing the right thing even when externally there is a total lack of peace. Externally, there might be noise, chaos, great turbulence, and still you manage to stay put. That is peace. In that sense, peace or freedom from stress is indistinguishable from truth, from silence, from all the great qualities that one associates with spirituality. Peace is not about carrying that sublime smile and walking around like you have nothing on your shoulders, on load, on baggage, no tensions, no. That is just an appearance of peace. It is quite deceptive. More importantly, it is self deceptive. It is very clear that outer growth has its own problems. Question. Questioner is asking. It is very clear that outer growth has its own problems. When people start going for outer growth, they tend to consume more, and excessive consumption leads to all kind of global problems. In fact, scientists are saying that unless something drastic is done, man is on the verge of extinction. But still, some amount of outer growth is necessary. As we discussed, internal growth is also important, but there is a certain amount of outer growth that is required for inner growth to happen. So, can there be a middle path somewhere, a compromise where one can have a fine balance between outer growth and inner growth? something like sustainable consumption or something. AP, you see that middle point you are asking of, that great optimum, it emerges naturally on its own. All that you have to do is you must continuously keep asking yourself whether all your external endeavors are contributing to your internal welfare. You said internal growth is also important. That needs to be put in perspective. Internal growth is the only thing that is important. It is not one of the things to be taken care of. It is the only thing to be taken care of. Might be sounding a bit absolutist, yeah, but if you will think about it, you might agree. Ultimately, you are yourself, and all that you are doing is for your own sake. So, what else can be important except your own welfare? It might sound selfish here, but only to the point you do not meditate on the meaning of self. And when you go into what the self is really about, you might find that real and pure selfishness is not a bad word at all. In fact, it is a great thing. So just keep asking. I am accumulating this. I am traveling to that place. And all of that has carbon consequences. You know, you fly to some place, you raise a big house, you want better air conditioning, you want your second or third SUV, and all of that has its own carbon consequences. Most importantly, you want to have a baby. What is usually not mentioned or discussed in these circles is that the one that contributes the most violently to the climate crisis is growth in population. When you bring one body to the world, it is not one body that you have brought here, it is an entire series. So, if you want to reduce your carbon footprint by, let's say, 100 units, then up to 70 or 80 units of that can be achieved just by having a baby less. Otherwise, you may keep on doing things that appear quite holy, quite public minded, even sanctimonious. They amount not too much. As we said, 70 to 80% of your contribution towards arresting anthropogenic global warming can come from just refraining from having kids or having fewer kids. So, these are the questions one has to ask. Do I really need that global trip? Have I seen enough of my homeland? Do I really need to fly? Do I really need to plan for one more kid? Do I really need to do this, do that? We all know, we are pretty aware people. We know that what extent carbon is released in what kind of activity. And if we are asking those questions, not the questions of whether activities that I am proposing to do or planning to do would release carbon, but first the question whether the activity that I am planning to do is really needed for me, then we will find that automatically the carbon footprint of our existence would become smaller. So these things go hand in hand. Right life and right kind of coexistence with the environment. A fellow who is living rightly is automatically living sustainably. So right life and sustainable life, they go together. The corollary is a bit unnerving. unnerving. If today we are leading the kind of lives that would potentially require a dozen earths to fulfill our demands of resources, then surely we are not leading the right life. If a right life is sustainable life, then surely unsustainable life has to be a wrong life too, wrong internally, which means that today, if our footprints is so big, if we are releasing copious volumes of methane and water vapor and obviously carbon dioxide and several pollutants as well, oxides of sulfur, nitrogen, then surely even internally we cannot be happy. We will have to accept that this equation exists. One who is polluting the environment would also not be internally joyful or peaceful. One who is contributing to the biodiversity loss or hacking down of jungles would also be leading a pretty miserable internal life. The relationships would be bad. The sleep would be bad. The entire inner life would be messed up. So that optimum, that sweet spot would emerge where you consume and you consume rightly, where the consumption is not blind, where you know why exactly you are consuming. Prakriti, nature, does quite generously allow for that extent of consumption. There is no problem. Every living being in the world does consume and does modify or manipulate. In the positive context, Prakriti nature for its physical sustenance. Even a bird or a squirrel makes its nest. In the summer, even dogs, the unusual street dogs we have around, they dig the soil to have a certain cool place for them to rest in. So every organism is doing certain things with the environment, with the ecology. Man too is entitled to do that. We do not have to really go back to the jungle. But the question is how much we entitled to consume. If 8 billion of us who are going to be 11 billion in the future within the next 2 or 3 decades, if 8 or 11 billion of us decide to have per capita consumption that mirrors that of the US or Japan or Germany, then needless to say, we are already doomed. So we need to be fewer. We not need to be consuming with an eye on our true welfare. Do I really need that third vehicle? What is it going to bring to my life? I already have two. What did they bring to me? And what is it that they did not bring to me that this third one would? These are kind of questions that an aware and intelligent person needs to ask. And when we lead a life that is very self aware, then you find that your carbon footprint automatically goes down, even without planning. And I would take a minute to also add a small warning here. If you do not lead internal right lives, then legislation is not going to deliver the goods. If we think that global meets and international summits or legislations from the side of governments are going to tackle this problem, it is not going to happen because governments are elected by people. It is a largely democratic world, and if people want to consume, government will not be very effective to checking that consumption. Governments cannot antagonize people beyond a point. So it is the population that has to be awakened. The population cannot be awakened just by telling them that you are doing all these things and that is causing harm to the environment. They will come up with counter arguments. They will say, fine, we will go to the Mars and settle there. Already many of our poster boy billionaires are saying that the Earth is no more good to live in. So we are now going to colonize Mars, the planet we are made very inhabitable, inhospitable. So let's quit the planet. And that is what they will say. They will say, if there is going to be a mass extinction, it is nothing new. It has happened several times before. Why so? Why should we trouble ourselves to avert mass extinction? And they can come up with a lot of arguments if you just keep emphasizing on environmental welfare. They will say, We do not want environmental welfare. Why must we care about this little speck of dust in the universe called planet Earth? We have so many other places to look at, from global, we will become universal. When you used to talk of something national, they said, we don't want to have a national identity, we want to have a global identity. Now that the globe has been burned down, they will say we want to have an universal identity. We will move to some other planet and then they will move to some other galaxy. Ultimately, all this lead to just one big black hole. So the action has to be internal. Only that will succeed. I am not coming from a moral point of view. I am coming from a very pragmatic place. If you want success, even in the external dimension, you have to begin within because that is where you are. Pan IIT session 2023. Unlocking your internal superhuman will to power. Acharya Prashant, when do we call somebody alive? We call somebody alive when the fellow has desire. Desire is one clear characteristic of being alive. When do we call somebody alive? We call somebody alive when the fellow has desire. Desire is one clear characteristic of being alive. Consciousness is desire or will. Now, about this desire or will, a lot has been said. Those who have tried to understand human mind, human life, have tried to ask, what is it that a human being constantly keeps desiring? What is it that we want? Because there is nobody who is alive and does not want. So, what is it that we live for? What is it within that keeps asking for stuff? So, Arthur Schopenhauer, he would say that fundamental desire is the will to live. The will to just continue, to not die, to exist. The will to live. Sigmund Freud, he would say there was a fundamental will to pleasure. We want to have pleasure. We want to be happy. That's what the entire internal will system, desire system is for. Viktor Frankl said that there is a will to meaning. We want to have purpose in life. We want to lead meaningful lives. But now we come to Friedrich Nietzsche. He said the deepest desire is the will to power. And we will take up Nietzsche in the limited few minutes we have today. Because the topic given to me today is your internal superpower. So we want to have power. That's what Nietzsche said. What kind of power do we want? He said, we exist so that we can be powerful. We exist so that we can exercise power. It's very difficult to understand what exactly he is saying. We want to have power. And the Nazi German totally misunderstood him. When he said, we want to have power, they look it as the desire to have an external power. They called it as Kraft, the name of external power, the will to have power over the world, the will to exercise power over other people, the will to own and possess resources and things and money and so many other kinds of. So, when you understand the basic desire to have power within, that's what you get a world war. The Nazis imposed the World War upon the world because they thought the fundamental desire within, the desire that we'll all live for, the desire that keeps all of us alive, is to own the world. And we all have been making the same mistakes since then. We think that we exist to own the world, that the fundamental desire is to will to have external power craft. German word. Can I have external enough power to call up someone and make him do things that I want him to do? Can I have the power to purchase this or that? Can I have the power to influence other people? That's what we think our fundamental will is for. Well, no. India and the Indian knowers, thinkers, sages have understood the will to power in a very different way since very long. They have said that the power that we want is not over the world. Yes, it is true that we want to be powerful. It is true that we feel helpless within as we are born, that there is a certain feeling of powerlessness within, a complex that makes us seek more and more power. But the power that we want to have is not over the entire world, the external world, but over ourselves. That power that you want to have over yourself is called must. In Nietzsche's term, it's called must. Well, does that mean that it's no use having worldly power? It's no use having money and influence and network and political power and such things. Well, the answer is you need external power so that you can have power over yourself. You need external power so that you can conquer yourself. As long as external power is a tool, an aid, and method to go within and beat your internal weakness, external power is not only necessary but actually welcome. It's much more than acceptable. It's a duty to have external power, but only to the extent and only with the intention that you need it to conquer the enemy within, the falseness within. So that is what power is all about. And when you talk of the internal superpower, that brings me to be a related word, knight such as Superman. He said the Superman justifies the existence of entire humanity. He justifies the entire flow of history. He says we exist so that one day we can become the superhuman. And who is the superhuman? The Superman is one who has conquered the animal within and who has beaten the primordial animalistic weaknesses we are born with. That's the Superman. How do you get to become the Superman? By not doing what the Nazis did. When you go in pursuit of external power, what you get is destruction of yourself and the world. And remember, the world war has not ended. I repeatedly say that we are already in the middle of the third world war, and it's a kind of invisible, surreptitious war, so we don't come to know of it. The destruction that the Second World War brought about was very little compared to the destruction that the current war is already daily bringing on upon us. The extent of destruction is such that we are already in the sixth mass extinction phase. We are destroying not only a particular continent, not only enemy countries, but the entire humanity, including all species. The number of species going extinct per day today is 1,000 times higher than the average has been over the last million of years. That's the war we are talking of. And that war has been foisted upon us by much the same misinterpretation that plagued the Nazis. They thought that we exist to own the world, that we must be able to impose our ideology on the world, that we must be able to please ourselves as we want. If that's what you think your fundamental desire or will is for, then mankind does not have too long to exist. Maybe we are already in our last few decades. On the other hand, if you can understand that your heart beats so that you can beat yourself, that you exist so that you can be free of the mundane clutches of existence, then you are close to becoming what Nietzsche envisages as his Superman. Now, as young people, it depends on you what do you want to exercise your desire, your will for, just to accumulate stuff because everybody in the family, in the society, and on the TV seems to do that and suggest as well. Or do you want to really understand your impulses, your desires, and go within and say, well, why do I need to be afraid? Why do I need to be insecure? Why can't I be a Superman within myself? Power, when used for pleasing yourself, for just fattening your pocket, is not just ordinary power. It is something destructive, something evil. Whereas the same power, the same force of desire, when it's turned inwards and is used for self improvement, self dissolution, self sublimation, becomes superpower. I invite all of you to not remain merely a mortal human being. What you call as the normal human being is very close to being an animal. Very, very close. We need to justify our existence by exceeding the normal humanness, the normal mortality. And when you do that, that's when you are a Superman. And that's possible only with power turned inwards. Power, the force of desire, the same desire that you all experience every day, every moment. When that desire is turned inwards, what you get is superpower. So, superpower is not about having 10,000 missiles taped with nuclear warheads and having a $30 trillion economy or having the fattest bank account one can dream of. Being a superpower is about not remaining the animal one was born as patronizing, nurturing, or being afraid of the weaknesses that we carry deep within ourselves. Superpower is about saying, before I compare anybody else, I need to win myself. Yes, of course, the money is important. Position, status, knowledge, all these things, resources, they are important. But I will use them so that I can justify my own birth, my own life. Money is not an end up to myself itself. Resources, knowledge, power, the highest kind of job, entrepreneurship, they mean nothing by myself themselves. They are a method, they are a tool, they are a way so that we can enter ourselves and become what we are born and destined to become. So be a superpower, and the route goes within 2023. The path to success. Questioner: how to get success in whatever I do? Acharya Prashant: success does not lie in doing any random things. That is the first, the most important, and probably the last thing. The game is not all about picking picking up some arbitrary thing to do and then investigating yourself fully in it, plunging into it, spending a lot of energy and trying to be successful. No, that is not the point. Do you know why you're doing a certain thing? Are you sure what is worthy enough to be done? That is a moot question. Choose the right thing to do. And in that lies success. In that lies immediate success. Immediate success implies that you have been successful right in the moment of the choice itself. You don't have to wait for the outcome. In fact, if you have to wait for the outcome to determine whether you have been successful or not, then you are already unsuccessful. Choose the right option. Make the right decision fight the right battle. And now it doesn't matter whether you win or not because you are already victorious. Victory lies in choosing the right road to walk. It does not quite lie in reaching the destination earlier than others. In fact, it is a frivolous comparison. Am I reaching there earlier than others? Am I reaching there at all? It is not about reaching there earlier than others in a comparative sense. It is, in fact, not even about reaching somewhere at all. It is about immediate moment that which is the decision is made. The concept that we carry is that the real battle lies in the attainment of the goal. The real battle does not lie in the attainment of the goal. It lies in the determination of the goal. What goal are you picking for yourself and why? If you fight the wrong battle, doesn't isn't victory worse than defeat? What is the point in speeding down the wrong road? What is the point in managing to obtain and eat huge quantity of food that your body does not need? Do you know your real inner need? Is your decision making aligned with your core self? That is the question to be asked. You must know who you are and what you really need. Who you are when you are not defined by others. Who you are when you are not ruled by your animal body. Who is it that you are? Once you know the nature of yourself, you also know what yourself is really asking for and longing for, and that makes your decisions that decides that you would be choosing that is the right decision. Now you stand by it because you are choiceless. You have known what you really need, and there is no going back. The game is over. The choice has been made, and it is the right choice. Since the game is over, therefore, there is no future. Therefore, you don't have to look forward to the future to know the result of the game. It was all about this moment. Did I decide rightly? If yes, game over. If no, game over. If I decide rightly, the game has already been won. If I decided wrongly, the game has already been lost. The future holds no significance at all. The future is now a child's plaything. It will show you some situations, events will unfold, but they will not hold any deep significance for you. You may get some money as a result of your decisions. You may lose some money. You may gain respect. You may lose respect. All that will happen, but on the periphery. Inside, you are already victorious if you have made the right decision. Outside, it may appear to people that you have lost a lot or won a lot, depending on how the future unfolds. But you are in your heart know fully well that it is not about how things show up in the future, irrespective of what the outcome of your decision is. The decision is right. You stand by it, you live by it, and that is success. There is no success in chasing a stupid goal and managing to attain it. If the goal in the first place is unworthy, what goal is there in attaining it more speedily than others? And mind you, more often than not, the common usual goals and that we find people chasing are unworthy. The proof of that is that we all are dissatisfied, we all are restless, irrespective of whether we attain those goals or not. Ever seen any person satisfied with the goals that he has attained? In fact, the levels of dissatisfaction are hardly different between a victor and a loser. The victorious one does feel satisfied for a short time. After that, the same old fire is discontentment comes to consume him again. Why? Because that is that which he so effortfully won or attained was probably not worthy of being chased in the first place. So do not ask how to get success in whatever I do. You will trivializing action. You are saying, what will I do? Whatever. No, no, no. Whatever is not what you do. You have to be extremely careful about what you do. Much more thought, much more consideration must go into what is worthy of being done. Pause, reflect, take your time, be open and alert and inquisitive. Life is precious. Time is not to be squandered in chasing unworthy goals. Advait Bodhsthal 2023. Two types of successes. Choose yours. What is success? Questioner asked. Acharya Prashant. There are two ways in which we look at success. The first way comes from the brain, which is a product of evolution, continuously upgrade, and archetype of this kind of success is exemplified by the event of examinations. So today you are here, a date sheet comes, examinations are announced, you prepare, you write your exams, somebody evaluates your sheets, and then on a particular day a result is put up, and that determines whether or not you are successful. This is the first model of success. This is the model of success that 99% of the world thinks to be success. That there is something to be achieved in the future, and that something is also hugely dependent upon others. There is something else who evaluates you. There is something else who declares you successful. Situations have a great role in determining whether you are successful. This is the first model in which success always lies in the future and is always influenced by others. So, two things are very, very dominant in this first model, which is that success is not right now, success is in the question, future. Ajay Bhushan. Future. Second, success depends on not only on me, but upon various external factors, external people, external situations. This is the first model of success. What is the second way of looking at success? The second way of looking at success is this is this moment. I am speaking to you right now. You could not possibly be listening to me in the past or in the future. I am not speaking in the past, and the future has not yet come. This moment is all we have. This is where all life is. This is where we are breathing. This is where our heart is pumping blood. This is when we are listening. This is when life is. This is when attention is and love is. This moment is all I have. And this moment is this moment only in attention. Only when I am present to it. This moment and my presence in this moment. This is all I have. This is life. This moment makes me firmly grounded in the present instead of future. And when I say this moment and my attention, that rules out other. This moment and my attention. So future is ruled out and others are ruled out. And all success then is in this moment, not in future. And this success is not at all dependent upon others. The first model says success is always in the future. The first model says, right now you are unsuccessful. Success is always in the future. The first model says, chase success. If you are chasing success, have you not already declared that currently you are unsuccessful? Can I chase that which I already have? Can I want that which I already have? So, if I want happiness, what I am saying that I am unhappy. If I want success, then what am I saying? That I am unsuccessful. This is the first model. The second model says life is right now. So success too must be right now. And I am free. So my success cannot be dependent upon anybody else. This moment is the exam and this moment is the result. And there is nobody else who would set a question paper and evaluate my answers. I am the only evaluator. My presence, my attention, my immersion into life right now. If I am present to life, I am successful. And if I am not present to what is happening, then I am a big loser. Have you heard the word ignorance? We usually take ignorance to mean lack of knowledge, right? We say he's an ignorant fellow. The word ignorance actually means the capacity to ignore. And the ignore what? What can be ignored? Can you ignore that which is not there at all? What can you ignore? The which is there. Nothing else is available to be ignored, right? Only that which is there can be ignored. Right now, what can you ignore? Can you ignore the words that are being said in the adjacent room? Can you ignore those words? You can't ignore those words because those words are not there at all for you. And they there for you. Are they there for you? What can you ignore right now? My words. What can you ignore right now? This environment. What can you ignore right now? This presence. This ignorance. This is failure. This is what is meant by being a loser. Life is going on and it is a big festival. And instead of celebrating, I am ignoring it. It is passing me by. There is a grand party going on, and what am I doing? I am standing at the margins and watching with a long face and drooping shoulders. Join the party. Join the party. That is what success is. Nothing else. The party is not in the future. There is no result to be declared. There is right now a grand carnival every moment. There is no moment that does not have the potential to ecstasy. Even this moment, all moments. This is success. Success is not about setting targets and achieving them, not at all. After all, future flows seamlessly from this moment. If I am present right now, then I am automatically building a future for myself. But then, model ones of success, we say, is followed by 99.9% of the people. You too think success is out there somewhere else, somewhere there, and if I do that, then I can get the label of being successful, right? Please see that you are. condemning yourself to torture. If you take that position, please see that you are declaring yourself to be unsuccessful, incomplete, inadequate. If you take that position, it reserves guts to take the second position, and it requires guts to say that the, this present is all I have and I am living it fully. If I am reading, I am reading completely. If I am playing, I am playing completely. If I am gymming, I am gymming completely. And that is what is success this moment. It takes guts to take that position. If I am in the gym, I am not worrying about exams. If I am dancing, I am not bothered about where the next meal would come from. If I am listening, I am just listening to hell with the other everything else. I'm not bothered. Who cares? This is success. But there is this quote that says success is when your signature becomes your autograph. AB. It was Shylock the Jew in Merchant of Venice who said that devil can cite scriptures for his purpose. And this that you are quoting is not even scripture. This is some stupid man's imagination, a signature turning into an autograph. No wise man ever can ever say all these things. After all, to whom do you give these autographs? To other, right? This man is saying that only when the other accepts me as successful can I call myself successful. This man is surely a slave of others. With the information revolution, so much is available on the internet. Would you just take everything? Go ahead and search for quotations on any topic. Many of you are connected to us on Facebook, and we put up all these quotations, right? You know, it takes an incredible amount of time to search for the right quote, to search for something that is just delightful and simple and direct. Most of what is found there is incredibly stupid, and that is being touted around as wisdom. Your wisdom lies in being able to differentiate using your own eyes. The world will throw a thousand things at you, but as a young man, you must stand on your own feet, look with your own eyes, and discriminate with your own mind. This ability to distinguish between wisdom and stupidity lies within you. You must exercise it. What do you mean by autograph? You know what is meant by autograph, that others must appreciate me. That is what an autograph means, right? Standing in front of you right now. If I become bothered with whether you are appreciating me or not, then can I really speak the truth of to you? If all I aim I am aiming for is applause, will I be able to help you at all? All I will say is things words that will please you. Now, do you want to be pleased or do you want to know the truth? Do you want to be pleased or do you want to be strong? And if I am standing here aiming for autographs, aiming for acknowledgement and applause, then I am dependent upon you. I am no more a teacher. Kindly do not aim for all such things. That the world is give me a medal, recognition, this and that, some kind of prize, respectability. Those who aim for getting things from the world surely become slaves of the world. Let the world give if it wants to, if we are not bothered. If you give, it is all right. If you don't give, even then it is all right. I am happy doing what I am doing. Why should I be bothered with autographs? My happiness lies not in the fact that you applaud me or give me autographs. My happiness lies in the fact that my actions, my words are coming out of my understanding that I am connected to you right now in a very close, very intimate way. And that is enough. That is sufficient. Ghaziabad, uh, 2013. Get some love before you chase success. What is questioner? What is success in its truest sense? How do you define success for an individual? AB. I need to be successful only if, first of all, I realize that there is shortcoming somewhere, right? Basic principles. There has to be a backdrop of failure for me to talk of success, correct? If I am already home, will I even talk of success? If I am already okay, will I talk of accomplishments? Will I? So, when you say you need to be successful, there is a tacit acknowledgement that you are not yet successful, correct? You are not yet successful, therefore, you need to be successful, which is all okay. None of us is born successful, so we need to be successful. But I am emphasizing on that because a lot of people talk too much of success without first inquiring into what their shortcomings or need or failure is like. If I do not know my requirements, what is it that I will order in a restaurant or a megamart or some other place? The world is a great shopping mall. It might have everything to offer, but first of all, I must know my own requirement. So all kind of things are there, and people are chasing all kinds of things, and that is called as success. But what is it that you really need? Do we pay attention to that? Do we inquire to that? Success is something we obviously all need, but what will be the definition of your personal success? Who will tell you that? Come on, please. Who will tell you that? And therefore, success is something highly personal. There can be no one set category criteria that fits all. You have to figure out what is it that you lack within. And the purpose of life is to address that lack. If I lack, let's say, in knowledge, then my success lies in gaining knowledge. If I lack in faith, something as basic as faith, my success would not lie in gaining knowledge or money. It would lie in gaining faith. If I lack in love, that is the point in becoming a successful entrepreneur. What is the point in becoming a successful entrepreneur? It is love you lacked, and you still lack that. Raising your new firms or factories will not address your loveless state. And a lot of people do that because life is loveless. So I will start one more venture that won't help you. You are treating the wrong disease. You are barking up the wrong tree. because life is loveless. So I will start one more venture that would help you. You are treating the wrong disease, you are barking up the wrong tree. But our education does not take us inward. School, college, UG, PG, doctorate, formal, informal, our education fails to talk, take us inward. It's not that the subject that we are taught are all worthless. They are very, very important, very important. I will forever remain thankful to my schools, to IITs, to IIM, and to all the authors whose books I read. I will forever be indebted to them. But the fact remains that education of the self is far more important than all the other kinds of knowledge that we are given. And that's something we do not have. The result is that the person is chasing goals all her life without even knowing whether the goal is worthy enough. There is nobody who is without target, ambition, desire. All of you have to do lists. All of you have dreams, and that's all okay. To be human is to dream. To be human is to desire. That's all okay. That's fine. The question is your goal worthy enough? And what is it that describes the worthiness? The answer is suitability. Is your goal suitable to you or to your neighbor? The goal today is to run 6 kilometers. You are 55 kgs. The neighbor is 59, 95. Sir, don't ape his goals. His goal is suitable not to you. You rather go to some cafe and get a sound breakfast. That's what you need, 55 kgs. But we copy others' goals. We act as if there is a universal criteria of success. We never look at ourselves and ask, who am I? And therefore, what do I need? That question is never raised in our classrooms. Who are you? Self. That word is entirely missing from our curricula. Self. You are taught mathematics and management and engineering, science, languages, politics, sociology, literature. But who is it that receives all the knowledge? The self, and the self is never taught. How wise is that? Please tell me. Is that wise? That's not wise. And therefore, after all the education, we still have very stupid goals. Very stupid goals. We do not know the nature of the self. We do not know where our dreams and desires. And dreams can turn into greed very quickly, right? There is nobody who teaches us this distinction between dream and greed. When the 2008 crisis happened, and I was just 5 years out of IIM at that point, a lot of my batchmates were in the same banks that collapsed. So when that crisis happened, I was in touch with a few of them, and I noted that the one responsible for the meltdown were all from Ivy League institutions, not just IIM Ahmedabad. I'm talking about Harvard's, Wharton, Kellogg, and all the fancy names. And what is it that they gave to the world? A huge crisis that resulted not only in economic hardship but actually a lot of deaths. How did that happen? They were from such fancy backgrounds and still they did something so suicidal, so childish, so irresponsible. How did they do that? Because they were not educated in the self. That's the problem. So you do not know the distinction between dream and greed, and the distinction is not very obvious, mind you. You need to be taught, you need to inquire, you require time to delve into that. It deserves respect, it deserves to be a course, it deserves to have textbooks, it deserves to have examinations. Otherwise, you will keep making stupid decisions and goals. His goal was to build an island. The result? He sunk a 100-year-old bank from the island. The island never came out. came about, bank to collapsed. But that's the goal that you inherit, right, from the movies. If I am successful, I will have a yacht and an island and a massive property in London. Who wants to settle down in Gurgaon or in Bangalore? Come on, London, that's the place. And that too, not central London. It has to be suburbs where amenities meet the countrysides. So that's the kind of life purpose most people operate with. Think of this. This is somebody's life purpose, and that fellow is an IITian. Then he went to an IIM and then he did his PhD from Harvard, and this is his life purpose. I want to buy yacht. Are you a kid? A 4 year old? That's how my nephew behaves. He's four. Every time I visit the house, he is like toy. He wants a toy yacht. This fellow wants a bigger yacht. What is the difference? Please tell me. All your life, your goal is a toy. Please give me a toy, please. The next toy, the next toy, the next toy. And you do not realize is toying with you. Before you run after goals, shouldn't you ask whether your goals coming from? Where are your goals coming from? I am asking you, please. Had I just chosen the common goals, I wouldn't have standing here in front of you. No, that would have been to the relief of many of you. I understand, but still, this, the point I have come to, is not at all a social point, not at all a point of education ever taught me to come to. I was all alone, very, very lonely all throughout my journey. Forget about this being an established path of movement. This is not even a very acceptable area of human activity at all. People talk of entrepreneurship. This is not even an industry. And it took 20 years of solitude to come to this point. And that is when all kinds of goals were beckoning, not just professional, personal as well. The day my name appeared in the civil service list, some minister came rushing with his daughter's hand. He must have had access to home ministry. He got my address as well from the list of successful candidates, and he came in nice one. Brahmin, look decent. Just check whether all his organs are okay. Like you check an animal, you know. That's the kind of goal the society bogs you down with. Now that you are a civil servant, get married to an influential politician's daughter, and he will have a truckload of dowry to offer. And the daughter too was good looking, not to deny that. If you have money very easily, then makes you good looking, no. So goal, what is it that you want in life? You must know. And that is something, I repeat, very personal. Because your goal has to be arise from your own insufficiency. Your dream, your desire, your ambition has to be rooted in where you are still insufficient, deficient. What else can be a goal? If I am someone who is easily scared, my goal has to be get rid of my fearfulness. Correct? There is world outside and there is world inside. Where do you live? I am asking you. Please tell me. Where do you live? You actually live in the world within. Even the world outside is experienced inside. Therefore, the insufficiency has to be within. The insufficiency that you address has to be an internal thing. Therefore, the goal has to be internal. You cannot just say, my goal is earning money. That's an external goal. Yes, the external world can offer you a path, but a path is not a goal. Earning money, if it is, you feel a suitable way to get rid of your fear, then do earn money. But earning money cannot be an end in itself. If earning money is a way to get rid of your fear, then earning money is okay. But earning money, I mean, I don't live here, there. I live in here, pointing at his head, and I do not know what is in here because my senses do not take me there, nor does my education. The eyes cannot look within, correct. And the role of the education is to take the student within, and education fails in fulfilling its role. It is not my fourth appearance as IT. As a speaker. This must be 20th or something. Back in 2011, I was here teaching the students a course called Self and Value Clarity. There was a course I had designed, and I pleaded that with the authorities here. It's more than a decade. I do not exactly remember all the details, but I became here at least 10 times then. 2011 it was. A few recordings are in fact available. If you will go to the YouTube, you will find some of those sessions, some 20, 10, 20, 30 students sitting in the classroom, and I am speaking to them. And the topic is the self. Because my experiences were constantly telling me we lack in this. And because my ecosystem considered of comprised of people from IIT, from IIM, so I had seen that it is this place that I needs that the thing the most. So I chose the address this place, typically IIT Delhi, because it is my alma mater. Goal setting is life setting. If goals go wrong, life goes wrong. Your goals is everything. Take more than 12 and a half seconds um, in determining your goal, please. That's how we determine our goals. Okay. So, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? What is it that you want? Pointing at different listeners. Okay, let's take an average. Let's take an average of what everybody else wants, and that becomes my want. Oh, he's quite famous and he is quite powerful and he is elderly. So let's take weighted average. These people will have double the weight, 2x plus y plus 3z divisible by 6. That becomes my goal. How responsible is that? You live as yourself, right? We have relationships, we have this, we have that, but ultimately you have a solitary existence here, in here, pointing to at head, right? And you exist for the sake of your own liberation, correct? When you die, nobody else dies with you. When you suffer, frankly, nobody else can suffer with you. Oh, they can empathize. That's okay. And you are born alone. So your goal cannot be a communal goal. It cannot arise from society, community, traditions, and such things. What if we are failing in getting success? We are trying hard. Sometimes we are getting distracted also. Sometimes we get on track. The real goal is so big, so immeasurable that you will anyway never fully reach it. but its uniqueness lies in its beauty. You just keep going towards it, even if you fail a million times, it leaves you choiceless, optionless. And I just said that this is my 20th year since my PG. What am I doing all these years? Till around 3 or 4 years back, who knew this unworthy fellow? Nothing. Keep what keeps you going then? What makes you stay put? Love. The beauty of that which calls you, compels you, and the very indispensability you cannot do away with it. You have seen it, you have fallen for it, and now you cannot ditch it. Whereas when your goal is trivial, petty, then you will get disappointed very soon. Also, instead of changing your approach, you will change the goal itself. I used to find it very surprising when people would start a concern and then sell it off in the fourth year. So, you started a company and then probably were able to bring an IPO and then earn a lot of money, and you said, now I'm selling it off. It was impossible for me to even think of selling it off, that which I started. Not that there were any buyers anyway, but even if there were any buyers, I would have never ever dreamt of selling it off. How can you do that? It's a love affair. And without that, how do you manage to live? And I was failing all the time, constantly failing, and that gave me all kinds of thoughts, but never the thought that I should do something else. That thought never came to me. I would have very happily tolerated living a life of complete failure for the next 40 years, even. Let's say I would live to the age of 70. I would have been very happy constantly and daily failing till the age of 70. But I would have never changed the goal. I would have tried out different things. If I have some intelligence, if I have brain cells to think, I would change my approach. I will do this, I will do that, but I will never sell off that which I love. There must be something in your life that you cannot compromise with. There must be something non negotiable. Do you understand that? If there is nothing non negotiable in your life, then it's a very sold out life. All else is negotiable. Not that you have to be a bigot or a stubborn fellow who has no flexibility. You must be able to compromise on everything except one, and that one thing is your goal. This is what I want. And that is possibly only when I said the goal is large enough and compelling enough, beautiful enough. The goal must be able to enthrall you, captivate you. You say, finally, I got something I can live for and die for. And then failure is not a big problem. I've spoken to empty halls with just three unwilling, unfortunate ones to attendance, and I have done that dozen of times. I was never cursing my luck. There was there were moments when I didn't have money to get my bike refueled. It's okay, fine. It's a conscious choice. Nobody has inflicted that on me, and would have been very easy at that moment to beat my chest and say, "Oh, I have objectively failed, objectively failed, and I will either change the goal itself or commit suicide." I am not trying to set myself up as a role model or something, but I just can't help myself remembering my own failures at this moment. And I don't want you to succumb to the so called failures. If The goal is right. If the goal is right, the goal itself is the victory. Once the goal is right set, you are already victorious. Now, how can you fail? And if the goal is wrong, then you will be a failure even after all your victories. You board a train and came 1,000 kilometers. That must be some great distance covered, right? What if the train is the wrong one? All your successes are just your sob stories if your goal itself is wrong. Destination. You never wanted to reach there. That destination will give you nothing. Yes, do travel. There must be a lot of rigor and intensity in your life. You must live a very happening and active life. But the first and the most thing important thing is that the goal has to be right. Also, let it scares you. You will not get the goal right in one go. It's a process of experimentation. The goal evolves, so do not be too apprehensive. What if the goal is wrong? Give yourself time, see what matters to you, apply yourself to that, stay with that, and then revisit, review, modify. You have that freedom. Failure, etc., doesn't mean anything. They just mean that the game is on. The game is already won. And now the game is on. I am already victorious in advance. Who can defeat me? Now, that should be the approach. IIT Delhi 2023. So, that's the chapter 5 of Decoding Success. We'll resume the next chapters from chapter 6 from tomorrow or from the next video. Thanks for watching or being there. Uh, I don't see any you will here, but yet, thanks for watching. Peace out.